All righty. Happy Friday, Ron. How are you, sir?
I am great, David. How are you? How are you, McKenna?
Doing well. We've already been on this call for 45 minutes, just messing around. And we've already had quite a few good laughs. So I think we're warmed up and ready to have a great Friday. Usually we do this call on Thursday, but welcome to the Little Nessie Happy Hour. You looked like you had something to say there, Ron.
No, it looked like somebody's busted into my room. I was checking out what was happening.
Oh gosh. So we go live typically on Thursdays, but it's Friday today. Happy Friday to you. If you're joining us, welcome to the show. Ron and I have, I think, 8 topics we're talking about today. 3 main topics, 4 from the gut, rapid fire. That's 2 different things. 4 rapid fire topics, and then I've got a from the gut topic, which is just one session where I just ramble for 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes with something that's trending or something that's hot. Usually has a marketing spin, a brand spin, and this I'm excited about this one. So, Ron, what topic are you most excited for today?
Yeah, I love listening to From the Gut, and I don't know what it is, so I can't wait to hear it.
Well, you're in for a treat. I think you know what it is. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's pull them up, McKenna. Let's get started with our topic overview. So, Mr. Beast and Joe Rogan actually are my examples today. The lesson that I'm going to teach from, and I came up with the title "Wisdom Isn't Older." I think I had a few other titles that I'd like better, but so we're going to talk about that. Ron, have you ever watched a Mr. Beast video?
No,
Are you familiar with Mr. Beast?
well, I know I just signed like a $970 million contract, so I'm familiar with that.
I don't know about that contract. Anyway, he's the number one YouTuber in the entire world. I think he was offered $1 billion for his to take over all of his channels, and he turned it down.
Wow.
But I've got a lesson to teach from there, and then we'll get into our main topics. Which our first one is
This is interesting. As always, David, we're going to try to find interesting nuggets in commonly, read data. The first one is builders' top challenges, and we have an interesting perspective on that.
Yeah, that guy doesn't look like a construction guy other than his helmet, hard
Well, we
hat.
did a good job changing that photo from being a house built in China to at least one built somewhere in North America.
Yes. And then his software dead.
I like this topic a lot, David, because there's been so much in the news in the last couple of weeks about is software dead? Is SaaS dead? Of course, it directly applies to what we do, and so we'll make our case, but it will be a really fun topic.
Yeah. And then our last main topic.
This is great. You know, both of us are, I think, fans of Peter Diamandis. We're going to kind of work off a couple of his recent interviews, one with Catherine Wood and the other one with Elon Musk about their views of what's coming down the pipeline and how quickly.
Yeah. Did you see the news that Johnny Ive and OpenAI's new product has been delayed till 2027? I think it was supposed to be this year, but it's been pushed back a year. Or was it 17 to 18? So, sorry,
No, it was supposed
it's
to be
not
fourth quarter
17.
of 2026, and now it's going to be February 2027.
Yeah.
The little whatever it is, but it's all right. You know,
Whatever
there's
it
stuff's coming
is.
out.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me start talking about my topic of Mr. Beast in From the Gut. All right. So this week I just watched an entire an entire episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, and his guest was Mr. Beast, real name Jimmy Donaldson. It was about a year old, so it wasn't a brand new one. But I watched the entire episode, and I think it was 2.5 hours. His podcasts are typically about 2.5 hours, and that's saying something because I've only watched, I think, two. maybe 3 full-length Joe Rogan experiences all the way through. And before I go any further, I want to give a little context because not everyone lives on YouTube like I do. So, Mr. Beast, real name Jimmy Donaldson, he's the biggest creator on YouTube, number 1. As of right now, his main channel alone has, I think it's 466 million subscribers, almost half a billion. And that doesn't even include all of his other channels or his presence across all his other platforms, TikTok and so on. He even has channels that are basically mirror images of his main channel, but he dubs them in several different languages. And even those channels, they have millions and millions upon millions and millions of subscribers. He gets credit for all of them, the views, the engagement, and the ad revenue. If you add everything up, all of his channels, all of his platforms, you're talking about a reach that is hard to even wrap your head around. And YouTube itself, it's not just a place where people watch videos. It's one of the biggest places in the world where people go to learn, to search, to figure things out. Even if they don't think of it as a search engine, that's what it is. Gosh, it's how I taught myself in the early days how to do video. People people don't just Google things anymore. They YouTube them. How do I do this? What's the best recipe for this? Or explain this to me. So when you're the biggest creator on that platform, you're not just popular, you're influential at a scale that most brands will never touch. Now, I've been aware I've been aware of Mr. Beast for a few years now. Seen his clips, his headlines, and didn't really know the scale. But my interest really picked up after watching the first season of Beast Games on Amazon. Gosh, I can't even get my words out. Beast Games on Amazon a year ago. I always thought his channel was for a younger generation, which it might be true, but it really just gripped me. Then season 2 started about a month ago. It's kind of like a Survivor-esque type show, but way more extreme. And that's when I found myself really paying closer attention to Mr. Beast, watching his shorts, watching a lot of his longer form videos, 15 to 30, sometimes 45 minutes, but more in the 15-minute range, more behind the scenes breakdowns, and maybe watching it a little bit obsessively, but more importantly, I was watching it intentionally. And it wasn't just because it was entertaining, although it's very entertaining. What pulled me in was how brilliant he is at his craft. Because if you strip away the money, you strip away the giveaways, the spectacle, what he actually does is tell stories, especially in his content in the last couple of years. He engineers tension. He understands pacing. He plans scale before he ever hits record. He's built systems that allow him to expand it into multiple verticals. It started with YouTube, but now he's making a dent into food or candy and philanthropy and way more without losing focus. And that wasn't accidental. This is someone who poured himself into one thing completely. I think he started when he was 11 years old. And that's why the podcast with Joe Rogan really hit me because Rogan, I think he's 58 years old. He has the most listened to podcast in the world, and he's mastered long form conversation. He's interviewed presidents, scientists, artists, philosophers, athletes, everyone. But Jimmy, or Mr. Beast, he's 27, almost 30 years, no, more than 30 years younger than Joe Rogan. Jimmy hated school. He wasn't a great student. He actually faked going to college so that his mom wouldn't kick him out, just so he could keep making YouTube videos. He had a passion, he had a vision. And here he is, 27 years old, I think, or 30 years younger than Rogan, and he's on his podcast calmly breaking down this omni-channel brand influence. He's describing his scale, how he leverages his systems and how to grow multiple verticals at once, even philanthropy, which he's doing some amazing things at levels most people would never even consider. Just a year ago, he posted a video where he built 100 homes for people in Jamaica, in El Salvador, in Argentina, in Mexico, in Colombia, and surprised all of these families with them. And there were tears. And while I was and while talking about all of his nonprofit work, Rogan keeps stopping and saying, oh wow, that's genius. And he's not just saying it to be polite. He's not just saying it to move the conversation along. He's genuinely impressed. And I've got about a 30-second or 45-second snippet with Rogan's reactions. McKenna, go ahead and play that real quick.
No, they're going to lose their freaking minds.
That's a brilliant idea. That's so smart. Wow.
Yeah.
And what are you, 23?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. That's amazing. That is so awesome, dude.
Yeah. Well, this isn't our normal thing.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And
feed people for free and in exchange for shout out in the video.
oh, that's amazing. That's brilliant.
Exactly.
That's so unusual.
Well, also that's
though.
a charity, so all the money
Right,
goes
of
back into
course.
it. Yeah. Exactly.
But it's so unusual that someone is so selfless, and then that you have the vision to just.
Talk about anything else, you know?
But it's just amazing that it's still an obsession of yours. Like, even though you're number one, even though you just keep being more and more wildly successful, it seems like, if I'm guessing, you're more obsessed now than ever.
Yeah, if you took it away from me.
So there you go. Rogan was just genuinely over the top impressed. But this isn't about copying Mr. Beast or going huge with becoming a YouTube influencer or a philanthropic endeavor. No one listening to this needs to go give away private islands like Mr. Beast does or chase billion views on videos. That's not realistic, and that's not the point. The point, I think, is obsession. Jimmy found something he cared about and he poured himself into it 100%. He studied it. He obsessed over it. He learned everything he could. He was self-taught, YouTube self-taught. He failed, iterated, reinvested, and kept pushing to get better over and over again. I think that's the part that people miss. They see the scale and think, I can never do that. I can never do what Mr. Beast does, but the real takeaway isn't scale, it's commitment. It's caring enough about something to keep refining it long after most people would have quit. And that part, for me at least, is relatable. You don't have to reach his level of success. Most people in the world won't. Almost no one will. But if you find something you're genuinely passionate about and you commit to learning it deeply, leaning into it deeply, and you keep trying to get better, you will be successful. That's what happened to me. Maybe not famous, maybe not massive, maybe not millions of viewers or subscriptions, but you'll be skilled, you'll be credible, you'll be respected. And that applies whether you're a loan officer, a real estate agent, a creator, or someone just trying to build trust in what you do. That's also why Joe Rogan's reaction is such a big deal, because the people who age well in sales, creativity, leadership, they don't cling to how things used to work. They stay curious. They don't let experience turn into ego. They don't say, I've been doing this for 20 years, so I don't need to listen. They say, I've been doing this for 20 years. Maybe there's still something I can learn. So watching Joe Rogan light up while talking to Mr. Beast lit something inside of me. I've done pretty well in my career, but I've always got more to learn. I've always stayed curious. It wasn't really about being a YouTube influencer. It was about passion. It was about craft. It was about obsession and being willing to learn even when the lessons come from someone younger than you, because experience does matter. But pouring yourself fully into something you care about and refusing to stop getting better, That's how people actually build something worth paying attention to. That's my from the gut, Ron.
Another great from the gut. And I was wondering how you're going to land the plane there when you were detailing Mr. Beast and even with Joe Rogan. But I love that. I love that concept of obsession. And the key to, I think, a great life is making sure you obsess about the right things. You know, and you kind of hinted to that. You know, you can obsess about maintaining or security or those things, or you can obsess about growth in the future, and significance. And I love that word obsession. And by the way, great from the
Yeah.
gut again.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a shame when people obsess about the wrong things. I'm sure we could think of many examples, but yeah, that's where my career that I have today started with my interest was piqued, and then it became a hobby, then it became a passion, then it became a side hustle, and then eventually it became my full-time thing and completely self-taught.
Yeah, and it's still an
Obs-
obsession for you.
yeah, 100%. What would you say your obsession has been for the last 10 years of your life?
Well, I'm just so passionate about the American dream of home ownership, and it's the greatest path to wealth in America. And I want to be such a good influence on that positively, so that as many people can experience it as possible, as well as the success and abundance that comes from delivering that American dream.
Yep. Alrighty. I don't think we cheersed at the beginning of the show, so we'll do a late cheers. So cheers to you,
Thank
sir.
I got a refill while you were doing from the gut, so I apologize.
All right. Let's jump into our first main topic, talking about builders' challenges. Lead the way.
Yeah, this is great. This came from an article from the National Association of Home Builders. It's Ion Housing. Had the top challenges for builders in 2026. And if we can just bring up the chart, you'll see the things that they were challenged. And here's the thing: in red are the challenges from 2025, and blue are the challenges that they forecast for 2026. And so you can see most of the categories they expect to have fewer challenges. For example, rates are dropping. That should be a little less of a challenge this year than last year. Same thing with buyers' expectation on prices, as well as interest rates are starting to moderate. And so that's less of a challenge. It's still a big challenge, but less of a challenge, and so forth. And so you can read through all the data here. You can see, generally speaking, builders are pretty positive about the future of this year. But David, I think one of the things we try to do is try to, okay, here's all the data. What's a unique signal here? And here's what caught my eye. If you look at the blue bars that are that the challenge for this year is the same as last year, it's either equal or greater. Those are all the levers that government directly controls, right? And so, for example, the very bottom of this chart, it says state and local environmental regulations and policies. Well, that's a government direct control, right? And builders think it's going to be more of a challenge this year than last year. Or impact or hookup and inspection fees. It's going to be more of a problem this year than last year. Or even availability of labor, which is very much government controlled right now, government constrained. They think it's going to continue to be a problem this year. It's not going to get any better. And why this seems to really caught my attention, David, I want to get your opinion. All we're hearing out of all our politicians is we have a housing affordability crisis. We have a housing crisis. We have to do everything in the world to make our housing better, to get, first-time home buyers into housing, to get people houses. Yet what builders are experiencing in the real-time, real world is government keeps making it worse. Completely opposite of the position the politicians are taking. What builders are feeling out on the raw land is government, please get out of my way, which is a completely opposite of what we keep hearing in the news. David, what's your thoughts about that?
It's interesting that the bottom one is the only one where the blue is where 2026 is higher than last year. But I'm surprised that one isn't higher in the list on this chart, because I think you've taught me that that's probably what's that?
Bottom two, the blue is bigger than the red.
True. and the second one is impact hookup inspection with other fees. Yeah, true. I'm surprised that
And
the
then,
bottom one isn't higher up on that page. With as much as you've told me about, taught me about the just the massive roadblock that government is.
yeah, David, if we go to the next slide, you can see how builders' concerns have evolved um, over the last say a dozen years, and you can see interest rates never were a problem. It's only a recent phenomenon, and they are a big problem because they're a part of the buyer psychology, and that's why that's a bigger problem than say those ones we saw at the bottom of the chart. Meaning, it's pretty fluid, but I think if you look at it from a trend analysis, those things are receding while the government direct intervention problems are growing, which is what I found kind of interesting.
I'm still trying to ingest the numbers here. So on the left, we've got interest rates. Then we've got buyers expect prices or interest rates will decline. Just trying to
Yeah,
ingest this all
so the
wrong.
first one is buyers are waiting to buy because they think interest rates will come down, and that's been a huge problem for builders. The second one
Hmm.
is buyers expect prices to drop, so they're going to wait to buy. So once again, that's a problem for builders, right? The next one is that hey, they fear whether they're going to be able to have their job. That's been pretty static. Matter of fact, contrary to what we hear in the news, home buyers are actually more secure now than they were 15 years ago. The last is the availability of developed lots. There's actually they say that's a 65% today, but the truth is there's a surplus of lots. They're just not developing them because it's not penciling out right now, in my opinion. And then the negative media that's telling buyers how bad of a time it is to buy. That's also a more recent phenomenon, But those things are dominant. It's true, but they're receding compared to the problems that government is creating. You know what I mean?
Hmm. What's some of the cost availability of developed lots?
Yeah. So you buy raw land, you have to develop and to develop a lot. That's like half the cost. It's actually
Mm.
so if they take 30 years to take a plot of land and make it into developable lots, but once they're developable and you're permitted, you've done all the work, then it only takes less than a year to build the house. So getting those lots, which oftentimes one builder will buy this raw land, they'll develop the land and then sell it to another builder to actually do the construction.
I was about to ask that. I'm not over the top familiar with that process. I was about to ask if that actually happens. How is that more common or less common for there to be two builders, one developer and then one builder?
Very common. It's very
Is it?
time intensive and cost intensive to try to take raw land, and usually they buy like like square miles of land. And like I said, it might take 30 years. I think of Millennia in Chula Vista in San Diego. It took them 30 years to get that to be developed, right? And then the builder, the developer that had that said, "All right, I can sell it now and make 40% on my money, and then I'll sell it to the builders who then will make 18% on their money. I don't need to keep doing it. I've done my work."
Is there more margin in developing the land than just building?
Far more, far more. But there's a lot more
Wow.
risk and it's more capital intensive, and it takes a lot
Uh,
more. It takes a lot of, I don't want to say expertise, but it takes a lot of knowledge on how to do it.
mm, I know that wasn't the main point of this topic, but yeah, I just learned something. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's very hard to get developable lots, but once you have them, then they're gold, and you can sell them. You don't have to even build the house. You just sell them for you did your job. You got them entitled. They're ready to go. So, and
Yeah.
usually what happens too, like if you have a big lot, you don't sell it to one person. You sell like a quarter of it to one builder, a quarter of it to another builder, a quarter to another
Yeah.
builder, and you get a premium. It really works well.
Yeah. And what stage do they have to get that land? Again, I know this isn't the main this isn't the main point of this topic. I'm just over the top curious now. What stage do they have to get it up to?
Well, usually you got to get it entitled, and you have to get all the underground work, everything below the surface done. So
Okay.
sewers, electrical hookup, plumbing, all that kind of stuff. Get them entitled. They can be divided, and they're fully permitted, ready to go.
Mm.
That's where you want to be.
Gotcha. They don't start building the streets or roads or anything like that, right? Just everything under the ground.
Sometimes they do though. Sometimes
Hmm.
they will do the infrastructure, including the streets. You know, and man, there's a torrential downpour going on outside. But yeah, sometimes it's nevertheless, what's interesting here, and to your point, David, there are greater headwinds than what we're pointing out, but those headwinds are receding when all the our government stance is we're doing everything possible to make it easier to build homes, but builders
Right.
this is what they're saying. They're like, that's not what we're experiencing. We think it's going to get worse, not better.
Mm. Yeah. All right. You want to talk about the threat of new AI and SaaS?
I love this, and let's frame this by using one of our charts. And so let's go for the first. Let's just go through all the charts, and then we'll have the conversation. So the first chart. This is the Nasdaq's composite index of the SPDR for software, and what this shows is that in a very short amount of time, the value of software stocks dropped about 30%. Is what this shows. And then the next slide is an up-to-date one taken from yesterday. It's actually year to date, they've dropped 31.9%. So in less than 6 weeks, the value of software stocks have free fallen. And we're going to get to the why. And then when it relates to mortgage and real estate. And then finally, on this last slide, if you look at some of the kind of like, headline companies like Salesforce or Oracle, Intuit, Adobe, Salesforce stock has dropped 50% year to date. Oracle, or from peak to trough, Oracle 52%, Intuit 51%, and Adobe 60%. And I know, David, some people might be asking, well, what's the cause of this? Well, what happened is what these different financial analysts and these different asset managers are deciding is that they think that some of these companies may be obsolete because of vibe coding with the different AI tools. And what really freaked out the market is when Claude came out with 4.6, that is very strong in vibe coding. And in it, it had a function for legal software where you can write your own legal software. And in that industry, there's all sorts of specialty software that legal companies use to kind of manage their workflow and everything. And those software providers, their value dropped 75% in like 2 days. It was like incredible. And now that's now happened in all sorts of aspects. It's called the AI scare, is the official term for it. Last week, what happened is that commercial real estate companies' values dropped 33%. Because what the market realized is, gosh, with all these AI tools, we need fewer employees, and so there's less people in commercial office space, so the value of that office space dropped. I mean, every week it's a new market being affected, which is amazing. And so, David, you and I talked about this because we essentially have or are building a SaaS company, which is a software as a service, right? That's essentially what we're trying to build, and we're going in the face of, the public right now saying we don't need SaaS companies or software companies, and so people like you and me have to go, well, where do we fit? And what's interesting is I thought about this, and I think about industry players, and I'm not picking on anybody, not specifically. You might pick Total Expert, or you might pick whoever you want to pick, whatever software you use, especially software. Does that have a future? And likewise, does Little Nessie have a future, right? And the answer is there's a really complex answer to this, and the answer is yes, but you have to pay attention to what's actually available today. Like David, we're not trying to say we've created the greatest technology in the world. What we're saying is we bolted the greatest technology in the world together, and we made it easy for you, and we can provide it to you for less than you can access it for. And therefore, between the ease and the cost savings, you want to employ our expertise to help you with our function, which is what all software needs to be. But the big software companies are just getting crushed. David, what are your thoughts?
It makes me think about my From the Gut from last week, I think it was, where I talked about Pluribus, the Apple TV show, and how the risk of AI. But if you use AI plus yourself and keep your humanness in it, then that's the golden ticket. And I think that's what we're building. We're using AI. We will be launching a product to loan officers, real estate agents to create video, but it's not what you see off the shelf from any other AI avatar product that you see. It's a little bit different. So that's what it makes me think of. Because yeah, like a Salesforce or an Adobe, where it's just a complete SaaS product, then yeah, I understand why they're dipping 30%. But it's also scary. I never thought about the commercial real estate part. That's interesting. Makes sense.
It's on and on. You think like LegalZoom. Like, do you really need
Yeah.
LegalZoom? Because I guarantee you, Chat can do the same thing for you today. Like, you don't need
Yeah.
it, or Claude can,
Yeah.
or whoever. But the truth is, David, I was doing this exercise. I shared with you. I spent a day working with a handful of AI tools, going, okay. And I picked an industry software. I said, okay, I'm a mortgage company owner. I don't want to have to pay $20,000 a month for that software anymore, or $100,000 a month, or whatever it happens to be. Right? I go, help me replace it. The actual process of trying to replace something like Total Expert, or even like something really simple like Experience.com, it doesn't matter what it is. It's not so
Yeah.
easy that some novice could do it. I mean, it
Right.
takes super high. I don't care. You don't just talk to the computer and now you have a new CRM, or now you have a new
Right.
social media manager, or now you have a new quote presentation software. It is super hard still. And what's off the shelf is far better still, maybe not forever, but still, than what we think. And so this is very much, I think, a little bit premature, but it's still interesting to watch because those companies are getting savaged on the stock
Yeah.
market.
Yeah, because I mean, if a company wanted to replace a Salesforce, a Total Expert with AI, the cost to do that with AI and hiring the expertise there would cost just as much, if not more, to get it to that point. Through AI, you could do it, but the cost of getting there, I think, would be painful. It's almost like a buy versus build conversation similar to that.
And the risk, right? Because you and I could probably build some of these AI tools like from our garage,
Mhm.
but we probably don't have all the safety net and security that these companies that specialize in have built over 2 decades, which is really
Right.
important because AI tools make giant mistakes, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
that's
Right.
something else you have to program into, which is not easy.
Yeah. Yeah, those charts are scary though. I bet you there's a lot of industries, not just SaaS industries, a lot of industries that look very similar to that. You know,
It's by the way, financial consultants. It's called the AI scare. It's every couple of days another company gets told. You know what
yeah,
got whacked recently? It was shipping of all things.
shipping.
Yeah, trucking got whacked yesterday because they thought software could better manage the logistics of shipping, and that would then reduce the overall shipping costs as it managed those logistics.
Interesting. I don't quite
It,
can't not quite wrapping my mind around that one
it's just a new
fully.
world. It's a totally new world.
Right. Right. What products does Intuit make? Is that QuickBooks?
Intuit makes not only QuickBooks, but it also makes TurboTax.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
McKenna,
It makes a bunch
you
of
should
products.
use AI to do your taxes this year.
Uh, but can it fill out the forms for you? Like you could talk to
Could.
it. It could do your tax strategy, but is it really fill out and file your forms, which is what TurboTax will do.
Yeah. McKenna, I'm gonna make fun of you for a second. McKenna, the last 2 or 3 years, she has gotten so much anxiety over doing her taxes, but she couldn't be a poster child for someone that should do their own taxes with how easy her situation is. Maybe not, but go ahead.
This year, David, my dad, has a tax person, and I told him, I'm using them. I don't care how much it costs. Any amount of money is worth not having to think about my taxes. Because last year and the year before that, and this year now, I've been on a 1099 And then last year was on a W-2 and a 1099. This year it's going to be the same. And I don't know what he's reminding himself for, but it has been so stressful. Any amount of money is worth having to not think about taxes. I will pay however much. I do not care. I hate taxes so much. It stresses me out. I'm going to get arrested by the IRS because I'm going to make a stupid mistake, and it's going to end up being catastrophic.
You've got AI now.
No, because then I still have to think about it.
McKenna, it's a hobby. I help quite a few people with their taxes. You know, in your tax bracket, you have no risk.
That's great. I don't want someone to help me with my taxes. I want somebody to do everything for me, and I throw a check at them.
Listen to you.
Mrs. Deep Pockets over there, huh?
That's
Money is
the
no
worst
object.
part. But money is definitely an object for me, but I don't care. I will go into debt. I don't want to think about taxes.
All right, we'll continue this part out.
All right. Big ideas for 2026. What are we talking here? AI, Bitcoin, no, that's what we're big ideas. AI, Bitcoin,
Yeah.
nuclear.
I think we have a visual on this, right? David, we got a visual on this. Let's use that.
I think so.
Perfect. So, David, this is part of a bigger topic that is at least a recurring theme, for me, and definitely a recurring theme on my socials of what I'm trying to project, and that is, there's this weird vibe happening in the world where we want to cling to scarcity, we want to cling to bad news, we want to think things are getting worse, right? And in our business, why we get fed that, our business being real estate, or mortgage, we get fed that because all these bad things that can happen lead to lower interest rates. And so if we think, we don't even know we're doing this, we don't even know that subconsciously we're rooting for recession, we're rooting for GDP to crash, we're rooting for layoffs, bad employment, we're rooting for all these bad news things to happen. So then the government will come in and lower interest.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Ron, I don't know if you can hear us, but you sound like a robot right now.
I'm being censored. Can you hear me now?
I think you're back. You sounded like your robotic voice was being turned on.
Charlie Brown's grandmother. All right, but so David, did you get the gist that we have this vibe that we're clinging to negative news, and unfortunately, in our industries, we've been spoon-fed it, so we root for it. Like, please give me bad news, so that you don't even know you're rooting for it. So we get lower interest rates, and lower interest rates are what we need for a healthy housing. Well, the reason why I like this article and this concept is that we already are in a massively incredible economy. GDP is at 4.5%. It hasn't been that high forever. Average GDP for the last 100 years is 3%. GDP is overheating. Productivity is going off the ceiling, right? And so Peter Diamandis he interviewed Catherine Woods from ARK Investing, and Catherine says, "Hey, look, I think we're going to get to 7% GDP annually by 2030." And to give you an idea, historically, I told you we've been around 2.5%, 3% for the last 100 years. So that's like tripling our GDP, right? Tripling it.
Wow.
That from the last 100 years. That last happened where we tripled GDP when we invented electricity. That's when productivity spiked. We had combustion engines, electricity, right? And so we're predicting that same thing to happen the next few years. And the thing I just want to coach people or encourage them, root for that. Root for GDP to skyrocket, because you know what that means? If you're an employee and you're creating $1,000 an hour for value for your employer, and now with all sorts of added productivity, you're creating $10,000 an hour, you get paid a lot more. Your wages go way up, right? And then the affordability problem is solved. Now, what happens when this if Peter Diamandis is right? By the way, he also interviewed Elon Musk, who said, "Hey, he thinks GDP is going to quadruple, like 5x in the next 24 months, and then do 3x a year for the next 10 years after that," right? And so, but the problem, like we would read that and go, oh, we can't have that because in wages rising, that means we got to have interest rates are going to rise because wage inflation means interest rates go up. Who cares if wages go up faster than interest rates? That's what you should root for. You should never root for interest rates to go down. Doesn't make any sense. Root for interest rates to go up, but wages to skyrocket. The affordability problem is solved. Live in abundance, not scarcity. David, I got on the rant there after I was frozen, after I censored.
I love it. Does the curve of GDP and wages in the rise or decline usually mirror each other?
Not 100%. The workers don't get 100% benefit from the added productivity because there's all sorts of added costs to the productivity, like technology, but they do get a
Right.
share in whatever is their share. So, like I said, if I go from generating $1,000 an hour income for my company to $10,000 an hour, my wages go up. Does it go up 10x? No. Does it go up 2x? Yes. Is there something in there? It multiplies, right? But then as my wages go up, that causes wage inflation, and of course, interest rates will come up, but that's okay. We want to root for that. Like, I think there's so much more being a lighthouse of positivity and abundance than being a lighthouse of doom and gloom. And don't worry, things are going to get bad. Rates are going to come down. I'm sure that's going to want to make you buy a house. Nope, I don't think so.
Yeah.
How about productivity, GDP, wages are going to go through the roof. You cannot wait to own a home. I mean, that is going to be so healthy. Get into it now before prices start to rise, right? And I approach this dozens of ways, in my daily LinkedIn and our videos, David. We just have to change to this, that what's good and what to root for, and abundance is what it is. And that's what Peter Diamandis talks in this article, both with his interview with Catherine Woods and with Elon Musk.
It'd be interesting to see the relationship between the three lines in tracking GDP, wages, and also interest rates, and the how those correlate with each one. Our good friend Dave Savage is not on your bandwagon on this one, right?
No, I think David is mostly abundance now. He may be seeing signals that he thinks that rates may be falling, but it's also, when you're deep inside the industry echo chamber, and he's not, he's super intelligent, well read.
Yeah.
Learn a lot from Dave Savage, but it's hard to not be influenced when you get 20 different inputs telling you how interest rates are going to go down, right? It's very hard not
Right.
to get that, right? It's very hard to think the other way. And you also have a constituency that wants to hear it. So I'm not saying that he's pandering to constituency, but you can understand how that forms your opinion.
Right. Right. But what is the ideal? Because most people's perspective and why housing has sucked for the last year or 4 years, but especially the last year or so, why no one's buying is they just their perspective is that the rates are too high and defined too high. But what is the actual rate that you think that would be a healthy market? Because it's been an unhealthy market for a while now. But what is that rate? Is it five?
Dave, I got into the business 30 years ago, and the very first thing I learned, like almost very first thing, interest rates are relative, right?
Hmm.
They're completely relative. They're not even a factor in the equation. What a factor
Okay.
is affordability, right?
Yeah.
If I'm making $50,000 a month, do I care if I have an 8% interest rate and have a $4,000 monthly payment? No, I don't care at the
Right.
least. But if I'm making $2,000 a month, do I care that the 8% interest rate can't get me a house I can afford? That's a
Right.
problem. But the problem isn't the interest rate. The problem is
Yeah.
my wages and affordability. So what's happened with that with housing, David, is in 2020, 2021, we pulled 10 years of appreciation forward, right? Where it's supposed to be 4 to 5% a year, we got 50% in 2 years. So we pulled the appreciation forward, rising the price of homes, but we didn't have the same corresponding wage increase to support that house, right? We didn't have 10 years of wages pulled forward. We didn't see wages increase by 50%. And so right now, housing prices have flattened while wages continue to increase greater than inflation. And as that
Mm.
happens, we're bringing that affordability curve back in. What we want is wages to rise faster right now to bring that affordability curve back to us faster and faster so people feel confident. Now, there's a lot of other vibes going on in the economy that's underwriting people's sense of security, buy a house. But the thing is, rooting for lower interest rates, I don't think is the right solution.
Yeah. So it's just going to take some time to kind of correct itself from what happened the last 3 years or so.
Yep, and then we have a little bit of supply problem. So let's pretend interest rates were to drop or wages are to dramatically increase. Well, we have a lack of supply, and so the demand will overrun supply and start inflating prices again, which will therefore put more pressure on affordability. Which is why we really have to work on supply. Why affordability comes back to us.
All right. Well, let's move on to our rapid fire topics. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Get ready for takeoff. We're talking about AI or software not being the problem. What is this one?
Yeah, this is linked to the last two topics, which is why we put in this order. This comes from Torsten Slok, Dr. Torsten Slok, who is the chief economist for Apollo. And he is probably one of the most spot-on economists that you can follow, and he's free to follow. I strongly suggest you subscribe to the Daily Spark. But he was reacting to, this radical drop in software, and he said, "Look, don't worry about software. Don't worry about software stocks falling. Nobody cares." Instead, if we get to the next slide, what he said is that there is massive amounts of tailwinds in the economy. The economy is literally about to just absolutely take off. And you're going to see, and he predicted GDP growing by almost 1% this year, like going to over 5.5%, 5%. He goes, here's what's happening. First, all these mega tech companies have already committed to $650 of spending this year, $650 billion, right? On top of that, we have massive energy expenditures set up, right? We're ready to, invest both government and private industries in all this energy spending. And then we have also the massive productivity gains from AI, which I know that some people think it's debatable. I'd love to debate it, but that'll be another topic. And then we have this industrial renaissance where we have both semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, and defense. All those are driving GDP, driving the economy. All those are very, very positive. And then third, we have this one big beautiful bill which is going to have unbelievable impact on our economy. And because one, it's significantly lowering the overall household tax burden. It is creating the accelerated depreciation of 100%, and it's creating carve outs for infrastructure and defense. Like all this, taxpayers are going to get much bigger refunds than they expected. They brought back the SALT deduction. All these things, these three things are going to happen, are going to push so much money into the economy is going to take off. He, in a subsequent article 2 days later, he keeps arguing how he thinks the Fed's going to have to start raising interest rates because the economy is going to overheat. He's been pretty spot on his predictions, more than what we hear in the echo chamber of our industries. But the point is, once again, this goes back to: are you rooting for the right things? Are you rooting for this takeoff that's about to happen? And is that oozing out of your pores so that you're creating all this optimism, all this positivity, all this abundance for your clients? Then when they talk to you, when they get done meeting with you with their consultation, they go, "I can't wait to buy a house. I need to get in before houses become so scarce I can't even buy one. We're on the precipice of this unbelievable period. I need in." Are you admitting that? That's the thing I want to project, David. Are you admitting that feeling to your clients? And I hope you are.
It's been a while since the big beautiful bill passed now, and so much news has happened since then that I'm forgetting so it was passed by Republicans, of course. What were the naysayers saying that was bad about it? There was too much pork in it, or what was the left talking about with that
it
one? I
adds
forget.
hundreds of billions of dollars. It adds hundreds of billions of dollars to the debt. You take
Right.
give these tax deductions away, and that means you're not getting those tax receipts essentially, and so now that's going to become a deficit, and so that's why we're going to have a $2.1 trillion deficit or whatever it is this year. It's going to be something unbelievably incredible. And then you also argue: are some of those deductions, are we just giving deductions to rich people, or giving deductions to every person? How is that being balanced? And you can argue about trickle down or trickle up. There's a lot of things that go
Yeah.
into it, but it's going to juice the economy. That part
Yeah.
nobody disagrees with.
Because I think the average tax return this year, and I'm not sure if this is tied to the big beautiful bill or not. I think it is, but the average tax return is estimated to be about $1,000 higher per per household this year, or per person? I don't remember.
The SALT deduction, the no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips up to $75,000. Those are all super important. Accelerated depreciation. There's so many things in the bill that will give people relief and that will make people want to invest. And here's the thing: the accelerated depreciation. I cannot say how important that is, because, David, homeowners are sitting on this, whatever it is, $37 trillion of equity in their homes, and in the stock market they have something like $20 trillion in equity. They can't liquidate that right now because of the tax ramifications. But think if you could offset the tax ramifications by buying something of something of value and be able to depreciate it. And they make a joke about buying jets. So let's say I bought, Bitcoin's a bad example. Let's say Bitcoin or Nvidia, and I bought it at very low, and now it's super high, and I have $10 million in value. I can't liquidate it because I don't want to face the capital gains tax, right? But what I can do is, let's say I'm trying to sell the $10 million. I can buy a $10 million asset, or whatever my tax liability is, and fully depreciate it to zero day one, and sell my stock so I have no tax liability. But now I have the new assets that's going to make me income. It's an asset that I own that has value and starts making me income. And that's a way that I can disgorge my gain without taxes.
I'm too dumb to respond to that, Ron.
No, you're not. But anyway. It's a big deal.
You're looking at me for some kind of response. You might as well have gone to McKenna for that one. Let's move on to Alphabet, Amazon. What do you say,
David? I'm beating this. I'm telling you, every day I beat the same drum, dude. And people might be getting tired of hearing it, but our biggest task as mortgage professionals, as Sherpas, to help people find wealth through real estate and wealth in general for their families, is try to pierce through this vibe that is emanated through our society about things are horrible. Everything's horrible. It's all bad. And so this is another example. Oh God, there's so many layoffs. It's so bad. Amazon's laying off millions of people. Alphabet's laying off people. Intuit, Oracle, they're laying off. Is so bad. Do we have another chart here? I don't remember, by the way.
Yeah, we do. We've got two.
Yeah, so it's so bad. It's so bad, right? Well, look and behold, Alphabet added employees last year. Is that the news you're hearing? Right? More importantly, is that the news that your clients are hearing? Right? Because when they hear layoffs, 16,000 layoffs at Google, or 20,000 layoffs at Amazon, they're hearing my job's unstable, the economy is bad, right? But the truth is, these companies are hiring. They're top grading. They're getting rid of their bottom 5% and replacing them with new employees that are productive. I think we have more slides on this too, if I remember right. So this is Alphabet. Alphabet was hiring. Amazon is hiring. Are those the headlines you're reading? Did you read that, gosh, Amazon had whatever it was, 150,000 net hires last year? Google had 50,000 net hires last year. Did you read that? Nope. But I know it almost sounds like I'm condescending. I'm not. But the point I'm making is your clients are getting these headlines that are false. The false narrative that's just creating this vibe that's preventing people from making confident, clear decisions in the best interest of their future.
Yeah. You've said vibe now, I think 4 times on this podcast. I'm getting a vibe from you. That's not the headlines that I saw. The headline from Amazon, I think a week or 2 ago, that laid off 30,000, 20,000 employees, something like that. And yeah, that's kind of, I was thinking the same thing, but seeing these charts is just kind of, oh my gosh, yeah, stop paying attention to the headlines so much. And talk Google to Ron and get some charts from Ron.
Google lays off 35% of its middle managers. Why? Because they're impeding growth. They were slowing the company down. So they got rid of all these middle managers and hired AI experts, right? Yeah. But all we hear, oh my God, 35% layoffs at Google. Oh my God, things are so bad. I can't buy a house. Because I'm going to lose my job, right? It's that vibe that we have to just counteract, right? You got to step up. I did a post about this. I'm doing a post on this in a couple days. You need to step up to the microphone and start, counteracting the false narrative that is putting the vibe out there that is preventing people from making good decisions for their family and their future.
This next rapid fire topic you sent it to me. I was like, what? Bed Bath and Beyond, Bed Bath and Beyond are getting into mortgages. What? Explain this to us.
Yeah, I mean, David, I'm guessing that happens more than once. I send you a topic, you're like, what the heck? What does this have to do? So, yes, the failed, bankrupt Bed Bath and Beyond, its parent company, the failed Overstock.com, said, okay, we're going to resurrect our future and we're going to get into mortgages. It's going to be so good. And to do that, we're going to partner with Figure, which has also been largely unsuccessful. We're going to partner with Figure, and together we're going to buy, I think it's token.com, and we're going to digitize all this stuff, do end-to-end digital. We're going to do like essentially the rocket, the full, flywheel, from start to finish. We're going to do it because we have expertise failing at sheets. We have expertise failing at inventory that people can't sell. We have expertise at failing at secondary market. And so together with our 3 failures, we're going to buy a company that's never succeeded, and we're going to go compete with mortgages. To me, what could go wrong with that, David? What could possibly go wrong with that?
Does this have any chance at all of getting off the ground?
I did a post on this earlier this week, I think, and I was trying to be super generous. And by the way, I want to give credit because Housing Wire is one that came out with this, and they came out with it about a week ago, and they did a really good job covering it. I think they're the only ones who covered it, so thanks for that. Flavia Furlan Nooms is one that covered it. So great job, Housing Wire. But in my post, David, I was critical like I just was. But then I said, like, good luck. We can always use more competition. The water's nice and warm. Jump in, right? Because we have some of the best companies in the world in this space, and they can't figure out how to make a dollar. But failed companies can figure out how to do it as like a side gig. Good luck. Throw a towel in with that mortgage. It's crazy.
Yeah. How many other companies have tried this? Or before I ask that, did Bed Bath and Beyond close all their stores, or are they any of them still open? I have no idea.
They're dead as a door now, I believe.
They are.
They're bankrupt. I don't know if they resold and somebody bought them, but they're
it doesn't mean you close all your stores.
Yeah, Bed Bath and Beyond, Buy Back Baby, another company went bankrupt. Yeah, now it's time to move into mortgages. Come on.
I think the next company we're going to see try to make a move into mortgages is going to be Toys R Us.
Yeah, it could be. It really could be. Now, David, we're going to get disrupted, but even companies like Amazon and Apple and Google haven't figured out how to get into our space. Even like big banks like Chase and Wells Fargo have a hard time figuring out our space. It's freaking hard. It's hard. There's a ton of moving spaces. And to think you could create an app and that's going to solve it, good luck. Really, good luck.
Yeah. There's plenty of other companies that have kind of tried that before. It was all the talk, I think, back in 2017, maybe 16, where everyone was talking about how Amazon's about to join the club, right? And just never happened.
I think there is going to be a giant tech company that will completely disrupt the space, maybe more than one. But it's not ready yet. It's still too hard, and there's still too thin of margins. Now, the thing that a company like Amazon or Google or even Apple or whomever you pick, if they have so much liquidity, they can create their own cost of funds, and that totally moves it. Completely can move with that with their own liquidity too. They can create their own underwriting standards. So. Am I frozen again? Or am I just not blinking my eyes?
No, you're good. No. You're still with us, Ron.
Rainstorm, in the middle of the Mediterranean Ocean that's causing this disruption, David. Or it could be the government.
Oh, now he's frozen. All right. There we go. All right. So we've lost Ron. He'll probably chime back in a second.
We lost Ron.
We've lost Ron. Ron is out in the middle of, did he say Mediterranean?
Yeah, Mediterranean.
Thessaloniki? No, that's not how you pronounce it. How do you say it?
I don't remember. Something inky.
Yeah. Inky. Thessaloniki. He kept on saying Thessaloniki. We've got 2 more topics to cover. Bed Bath and Beyond. I think Bed Bath and Beyond, Toys R Us, and Blockbuster should start a mortgage company.
All just grouped
That's
together. Here he is. He's coming back.
all right. We've got. I was going to suggest that we skip our next rapid fire, the easy money loans. But do you want to talk on that one, or do you want to move to our AI tip of the week, Ron?
No, let's skip the hard buddy. That wasn't super exciting. It's interesting, but we can skip it.
We'll skip to the AI tip of the week.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
let's
that'd
do
be
it.
great.
All right.
All right,
So
David,
AI
we
tip
got
of the week.
we got a cover slide on this, bumper slide probably.
We've got 6 slides. Here's the title slide, and we've got 6 slides to cover on this one. But
So
I think we're just
underneath
gonna
is
talk as you. Yeah, you go.
yeah. So David, we came across a terrific podcast by Jeff Sue, who's kind of like a whole technology AI dude. He has 1.5 million followers, really good. And he had a prompt tip of the day, which is use the right AI tool. And so he did like a scorecard for every one of the AI tools, like which one should you use, what is it best at, who like should you use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or Perplexity or Notebook LM, which by the way I wasn't even really aware of Notebook LM until I listened to his podcast. And then he talks about Grok and Gamma, 11 Labs, Zapier, N8N, Napkin AI, and a bunch of other stuff. And he goes, well, the thing that I thought, David, wasn't how he rated each AI tool, but how he was a proponent of, coupling multiple AI tools together on the same task to get more productivity and a better outcome. That's the part I really liked. And I think we have some slides that kind of show this. And so he's like, look, for business presentations, for ideation, use chat or for ideation research, you use chat, I think Gemini and Perplexity. And then when you go to do the presentation, I think it uses Claude. I think that's Claude, right? And he goes, so like, that's the mix you should use. And he goes through these different mixes. Like there's a process. Each tool has a specialty. Don't use one tool to try to do it all. Use each full tool for specialty. So let's keep going through these slides, which I like. And then, he's like, hey, look, here's what ChatGPT does. Here's what Gemini does. Here's what Claude does. Here's how you should use it. Let's keep going. I told you guys we weren't going to go slide by slide, but now I'm recanting that. And then it was interesting. He said, look, Perplexity isn't a general AI tool. It's a specific research tool and really shouldn't be used on its own. And inside of it, he uses this example. So ChatGPT, it sits on top of a bunch of GPTs in the open AI world. But Perplexity sits on top of a bunch of different AI tools and works differently. And so he kind of goes about how you should use which one and what they're like. And so the next he goes into, I think in the next slide he talks about how Perplexity isn't a general AI tool. Yeah, he's like, hey, its superpower is finding accurate information fast, college level citations that you can trust, that you can refer to. Let's keep going through these. And then you can talk about newsletter. He's like, brainstorm with Gemini, research with Perplexity, send it to Claude for the final draft. And so, David, we don't have to keep going through these slides, but the point is, one, are you using multiple AI tools? Do you know which AI tool is best and why? And then, do you know how to link it with other tools? So one of the things I like about Whoozy is you can put multiple AI tools on their Centauri board and have them work in unison in real time. And we talked about last week, I think, how Gemini now will allow you to directly feed ChatGPT threads into Gemini into the conversation, which is easier than cutting and pasting or trying to monkey around. And you're going to see more and more of this, of these people stacking these different AI tools together. And are you doing that? And so the thing that, I would encourage people, and then Dave, I want to get your feedback. You probably learned an AI tool already. And one, you're probably starting to learn the AI resources within your company's tech stack. Like Total Expert has AI tools, Trust Engine, whoever you're using, Optimal Blue, they all have AI. So you're trying to lean into that and learn it. And then on top of it, maybe you started with ChatGPT and you started to expand more and more. The thing I would encourage you is keep trying different tools. Try Gemini, try Claude, try, Perplexity if you haven't. Like I need to try Notebook LM. David, do you know what Notebook LM is?
No, I was on
You
mute.
know,
Nope.
yeah, yeah. I thought it was just having more problems. But Notebook LM is really good. It really interesting. It will only give you results based on the inputs you give it, so it can't make things up. And so what it
Hmm.
says to do is like do all your work in Gemini or ChatGPT, but then put your source material into Notebook LM to confirm that there was no hallucination. It's like a security checkpoint. Like, okay, I'm working off this book and I'm working with ChatGPT or Gemini, and they started to make stuff up. I wouldn't know because maybe I didn't read the whole book. But I could drop that book into Notebook LM and then go, can you please confirm this is all verifiable material from the source I provided? And it will tell you, it really gives you a really good report card. This isn't there. This was made up. And so it cleans up hallucinations, which who even knew? Like that's great. It's just
Yeah.
amazing how many tools are out there. What are your thoughts, David? I know you work, by the way, especially like in our new product, Aquara, which is coming soon. You work with maybe a dozen of these tools, maybe more, maybe 15 of these tools. So you totally get stacking them. But what's your thought just as people approach general AI tools?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I work with that many, but the video you sent me the beginning of the week was very powerful, and it encouraged me to really push myself to lean more heavily into all the other products. The video that you sent me was a video explaining what each one is good at, and I actually just went to our YouTube channel, Little Nessie YouTube channel, and added that video in the comments. So
Nice.
go to the Little Nessie video on this video, go to the comments section and look for the link that I just posted. But it's a video explaining what all the different, not all, but all the main and most popular AI tools are great at. And it encouraged me. You sent that to me and Dave Savage, and we both were like, thank you for sending that because I already knew this, but it was just a reminder of don't just stay on ChatGPT for everything because they each have their strength and you have to understand those strengths to be able to get the best use out of it. And I just this week went back into Hoozy because Hoozy's a great product that helps you leverage all the different platforms and what they're good at. But you have to kind of have that baseline knowledge of what each one is good for and what their strengths are before you even start to decide which one to use for what task and so on. So yeah.
David, what do you think about that article I sent you on why I quit ChatGPT? Did you get a chance to read it?
I didn't read that one, sorry.
It's the same thing as this Jeff Sue thing, why there's better tools, but then it got really technical on why. Like Claude, you get 200,000 tokens in a thread, and
Right.
ChatGPT you only get 50,000, and so it doesn't have a great memory of what you're doing. And that's a
Yeah.
big problem. That's one of the things that they have to solve in AI tools. Is the AI tool has limited memory because they're trying to not throttle, but minimize tokens. And so we think like it's going back to the first conversation of the thread, and it knows everything, and that it's
Mhm.
paying attention to every other thread we have. It doesn't have the capacity to do that, and chat has
Right.
limited capacity. And so it's interesting, as you study different AI tools, which one can serve you better and how. That's the whole point. And the bigger thing is the encouragement is just keep playing. Be curious. Try it. You can't break it. At least I don't think you can break it. At least maybe I have. I might have broken it.
You broke your internet connection about 10 minutes ago when we lost you. I had a feeling that was coming. So when we lost you, we were talking about the Bed Bath and Beyond thing, and my comment was that I think the Bed Bath and Beyond, Blockbuster, and Toys R Us should get together and start a mortgage company.
I just wonder if Bed Bath Beyond people listen to this podcast, if that means I can't redeem my 20% off coupons.
All right. Well, Ron, next week we'll be back to normal. You'll be back in your house in Scottsdale. You'll be done with your trip around the world.
Yep.
So looking forward to that. If you've joined us live or if you watch this later, we appreciate you watching. Ron and I just like to ramble for about an hour and 5, hour and 10 every week. And this week was fun.
Well, David, we really rambled for more like an hour and a half or 2 hours. We just invited the audience to join us the last hour.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. And the first 20 minutes, first 30 minutes was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you, McKenna, for being flexible while I'm, out in the wherever I'm at. So thanks a lot. Thank you, everybody.
All right, guys. See you next week. Thanks for joining.